Welcome back to the New Earth Business Podcast. I am here with Alex Pardhy. Alex is a medical doctor turned medicine woman, working with alternative medicines, altered states, and ceremonial spaces to support rapid transformation and growth. She delights in pushing the edges of what is possible for people. Now, I'm going to add to that. You're also an inspiring businesswoman. You're an expander for me personally. Your Instagram account is full of inspiring and entertaining, informative nuggets of wisdom. Your energy in real life is infectious. And I just wish I was able to spend more time with you in Somerset before you move to London. So welcome to the podcast, Alex.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's amazing to be here, and I completely second the sentiment that you left on. And you are so welcome to stay with me anytime in London. Yay.
Well, by the looks of that apartment that you're in, it's rather nice.
I love
I'll definitely be taking you up on that. So I wanted to just dive straight in to this concept, this energy that you are channeling at the moment, which is the medicine woman. So for our listeners, can you define what a traditional medicine woman is and what a modern medicine, this is a bit of a tongue twister, modern medicine woman is for you?
Yes, absolutely. So, medicine woman is a mantle at the end of the day. It's something that you kind of carry and step into, is my perception of it. And it's something that I guess traditionally was often given to people. And so, the medicine woman of a community was often a seer, someone who was connected to the unseen realms, or who had great knowledge and wisdom about things like plants or birth or whatever it was that was her medicine. And so, to me, a medicine woman, it's someone who steps into that role of leader in whatever her natural gifts are, and who is also recognized by others in that way. And so that's the traditional sense. And then the modern sense is, so here we are on this computer, we're on a podcast, and there's tech everywhere. And it's just like modern day life is not designed for our biological systems. We're just catching up and like, oh my gosh, stimulation, everything's going on. And so to me, the modern day medicine woman really needs to learn how to master the world around her. It's to me, the shaman, I'm not calling myself a shaman, but to me, the shaman or the medicine person needed to be useful to their community. They needed to understand the cultural implications of what was going on around them in the world. And a massive part of the modern day medicine woman is that there is technology, there is business, there is money, there is all these things that we really need to know about and actually face front on and not shy away from. And so for me, what's just been coming up so much and has been a big part of my own journey is yeah, struggling with this concept of money. And there was so much struggle, especially, and then showing up online. How do we present ourselves? How are we okay with being seen? And all of the patriarchal systems that have affected us over hundreds and thousands of years. And so it's really wrestling with and finding our power amongst all those things.
Absolutely. And I can so relate to everything that you've said with the as a business owner myself. It's like the tech, you've got to learn the marketing, you've got to have that creative bone in your body and or believe that you do. A lot of people come to me and they go, "Oh, I'm not good at branding." I'm like, do my branding course and you will unlock your creativity, because we all have it inside us. And it's just almost like the limbs of yoga. It's like the limbs of a medicine woman in business, right? And we've got all these different like little leaves of the tree, and the roots go really, really deep, and that healing side is just one of the sides. And you're so right, you're like bringing all of this together. So what you're doing is so needed in the world. And with my clients, I see that it's the confidence thing, it's the being seen, it's the stepping out, which can be so tough.
Yeah, that's what the whole mastermind I'm running right now is around. It's that being seen, just that desire to like contract back. And so we're using all these shamanic tools and visualization tools, and yeah, just everything, and just cheerleading as well, and community and sisterhood to really support people through that, because it's a birthing process, and it's, you just have to be with people who are doing the same thing and dealing with the same stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. This transformation that happens in community is wild. So I'm going to park business for a minute because what I want to get into is some juicy information about your move from being a medical doctor to a medicine woman. And what was that inspired you to sort of park that and change tack?
One word, ayahuasca. Ayahuasca found me numerous times. I, at the time, was just like, what is this stupid plant that all the hippies are taking that doesn't think it's okay that I can eat pork? I was like, God, this whole thing's so stupid. Like, no. And then I met this, I was having a good old party on the beach in Tulum on New Year's Eve at the end of the Mayan calendar. So that was 2012. And I met these Argentinian guys and we partied all night together. And on the morning, we were there sort of still high and on the beach that morning. And they were like, you must come and drink ayahuasca with us. And I was like, what's that plant that everyone keeps talking about? That stupid plant. Oh my God, like get it away from me. And they were like, no, you have to. You just have to. It's in 2 weeks. We have a shaman coming from Brazil and you're coming. So get ready. And I was like, oh, okay, I suppose so. And that was it. And then it was just like, and I think so much of my truth had been buried under good girl conditioning and what I should do and ego and just all of the power that being a doctor gave me and all of the security financially it gave me. And there was just, what ayahuasca showed me was how fearful I had been and how not trusting in myself, my own creative potential to make the life I dreamt of, whatever that would be. And also the conditioning of the school I'd been in, where everyone essentially went to Oxbridge, or, I'm from pretty posh ilk, if you didn't already know. And yeah, it was just expected that you would become an accountant or do law or whatever. And so yeah, ayahuasca was just like, you don't want to be a doctor. These are all the reasons why you became one. And I was like, wow, you're right. And so I went back, and even then I convinced myself I wanted to become an interventional radiologist. And then I just looked at the form one day, and when it came, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, it's just grey. Just nothing in my internal guidance system, as Abraham Hicks calls it, lit up. It was just like ayahuasca showed me the rainbow. And then that was my compass, my guiding system, because whatever didn't feel like the rainbow was obviously just not the purpose of life. And like, I just had no idea of that before ayahuasca. So thank you, grandmother ayahuasca.
Wow, I was getting full chills when you said that rainbow, the image of the rainbow being like your sort of guiding light
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, being lit up, being just like excited by something. When I look at it, does it like excite me? And I'm a manifesting generator in human design. I don't know if you follow that, but
I can tell.
I'm pretty much the classic. I'm also a classic Sagittarius. So yeah, classic manifesting generator. If I'm not feeling it, and essentially there was almost nothing in my life apart from partying, which made me feel good, which made me feel like excited or like in it or just like really feeling it. I was so in my head all the time, and I'm still honestly on a journey from my left brain into my heart, into my right brain, into my body. And that's the path really that I support others through.
Yeah, so let's go a bit deeper with that. So plant medicine, psychedelics, Kambo, and your teachers. I notice that you're ever the student. You're always going off, flying off to these far off lands to learn from your teachers. I'd love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I mean, the day I stop learning, I hope, is the day that I die. And yeah, that just the idea of not, I mean, some people are like, oh, you're a bit of a course junkie, or what's that other certificate going to give you? Like, aren't you enough? And I'm like, it's not that. Like, I just love learning. There's so much to learn. In fact, I wish I had 10 of me to do all the things I want to do in this one lifetime. It's kind of a point of grief, actually, that I don't have 10 of me. Um, but yeah, it's just, I love sitting and listening to wise people who are truly connected to the earth, truly connected to what it means to be a human, truly authentic. And I think so much of healing work is coming into our authenticity,
Mhm.
being able to share it. And so when I meet a lot of these amazing people, so I've had the honor of working with herbalists in Hawaii who know a lot about Qigong, priestesses in California who know a lot about goddessing and karate, and I have a Mazatec teacher who is a oh, there's a little bug just climbing up the side. Sorry. Oh, it's so cute.
Oh, hi, Bug. Welcome to the New Earth Business Podcast.
Like, this is so interesting. I'm coming to join. Um, yeah, so I have one teacher who used to be a sort of marketing, executive marketing, whatever, and she now does Peruvian shamanism and craniosacral, and a teacher I was with yesterday, last week, my most recent teacher. She is, well, she's incredible, and a lot of my teachers have either had abuse or, a lot of healers have worked through a lot of their own stuff, and she's actually publishing a book on her story next week, I think it is. But yeah, so she used to be a truck driver, and now she's just this incredible powerhouse. If you're listening, Sue Holmes, that's you. And and just amazing teachers, and also then the indigenous. So there's a Mazatec elder that I work with called Alejandrina Pedro Castaneda, who lives in Huautla de Jimenez in Oaxaca, in Mexico. And that's where Maria Sabina was from, the woman who helped the West rediscover mushrooms as a healing plant, the psychedelic ones. And so she's from that area, and I've been working closely with her to learn and understand the healing arts of Mexico. And then there's just going on pilgrimage and sitting with the Huirarica of North Mexico, the peyote shamans and the communities up there, and just sitting in ceremony a lot with peyote, with people from the Red Road Path or the Lakota, and the Sweat Lodge as well. There, that medicine of theirs that White Buffalo Calf woman gave them in their visions. So yeah, it's just so exciting to me, and go and sit with all these different people and learn, and it's just like the best bedtime story. It's just like, oh, tell me more, and I get to go away
Mhm.
and integrate that into my life and work with my clients, and it's just a wonderful adventure and a great honor.
Every time I see you go off somewhere, I'm like, oh, I want to be going. I want to go there. Just to circle back round to something you said about all of your teachers have really had their own journey, their own trauma. I was talking about this with a friend yesterday, and that's something that really, really draws me to a teacher, is when they are fully able to share in integrity, like their darkest and what they've been through. I think there's an interesting is it a concept? Well, no, I think it's just like this energy that's happening, and especially online, where we're seeing a lot of almost like surface level teaching happening, where it's talking all about the positive and all about more about the pain of the potential client, rather than this is what I've done, this is how I've alchemized it, this is how you can potentially do it as well. Have you found that? I'm just interested to know.
Yeah, toxic positivity is what I would term this. Just like love and light, yeah, everything's great, and la la la, just like forget about your worries, and it's really gaslighting a lot of our own deep inner children, who
Hmm.
need to be held, and we need to reprogram like what we learn in those moments of trauma or wounding. And so yeah, toxic positivity is not my jam. And it's a weird one. As a leader, there's a subtle difference between like oversharing or this kind of vulnerability porn that we see online, and actually genuinely, authentically, like you said, showing the fruits of the labors we've done with regards to our own wounding and how that can support others, and always with the focus on providing value for others, through that, and sometimes asking for support for ourselves, not forgetting ourselves.
Hmm.
I think it's nice when we ask for support from our community, because that's reciprocity. But it is, yeah, it's a dangerous trap, I think, sometimes, the way that we can show up. And I speak from experience. There was a few years where I felt like the way I was working with social media wasn't aligned. Um, but yeah, and then as a result of that, went into more deep therapy, which again, I work in all these realms, but therapy, really important, especially for the Western mind in terms of understanding from the left brain and actually integrating a lot of these expanded and altered states of consciousness that we heal through therapy, just every day, well, every week, checking in with someone to just really ground it into your life and your actual relationships. So important. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's been coming up a lot for me recently. And there's there's almost been a bit of a block to go back to therapy. And I'm trying to there we go, trying to control the situation with my ritual practice or my connection with nature. And you're so right. It's we've got different brains. It's like we do need that talk therapy. There's and sometimes it's actually not, it's not right to put it all on your friends. It's not right to put it all on your partner. And then what happens is it comes out in these big explosions. So yeah, we need to talk.
Yeah. And not just talk, but cry. I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone out there's like me, but I find it really hard to cry. I'm just like this, like I can feel it and it's there and it's like it's just like this like malfunction happens and I can't just let it out. It's so sweet, really. But so for me, therapy is just like this 1 hour a week where I go and I just cry and like they extract it out of me somehow, and then I'm like, oh, thank you, and then I'm like, oh, good, discharged it. So yeah,
Yeah, because
emotional
there's
hygiene. Yeah, that's kind of the words I'd use.
I like that. And there's certain chemicals, isn't there, that we can only get out through our tears.
Yeah, and apparently the skin under the eyes absorbs certain compounds in the tears, which actually affect your neurological hormone system. I heard this once and I haven't looked it up, but that actually help you to relax.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, seeing as we're going towards the science area now, which I know that you are rather proficient at, what what does being a psychedelic researcher mean?
I wouldn't consider myself a psychedelic researcher. So do you
Hmm.
mean in the wider context of?
Yeah, so from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have worked in research in psychedelics.
I have not actually.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I actually would like to, but my brain just doesn't work scientifically, which is really ironic. That's how hard I pushed myself into medicine. Like I'm really terrible at maths, chemistry, physics were my worst subjects, and I don't understand statistics at all. Like I find that the whole thing just is like a foreign language to me. So I just don't have a brain that understands research, and I would love to do some qualitative research one day, which is more just like asking people stories and their subjective experiences. However, in terms of science, like more sort of qualitative, quantitative, sorry, data, which is more like numbers and analysis of those. Like, unless someone said like, here's the study, just this is the data you need to gather, and then we'll go away and analyze it. Like, that's about all I would be able to do.
Mm, interesting. Maybe I'm tapping into you on another timeline.
I mean, never say never.
Oh, so I want to talk a little bit about Kambo and my experience with you with Kambo. So I go into this really deeply on another episode. It's episode 9 with Alex Welch. So go and listen to that if you are interested in this bit of the conversation. But I'll just say that for me, it kick-started a deepening with healing my fertility journey. It also gave me this connection to my warrior archetype, similar to what ayahuasca did to me. It made when those ceremonies, both the Kambo and sitting with ayahuasca did for me was it showed me that I could get through anything, that I was so strong, so mentally strong, physically strong, that this game of life, this is the child's play. And I wanted to know, like, from your side, what happens for you when you're the facilitator, and what happened, this is in Kambo, right? What happens when you're facilitating that space, and what keeps you coming back to it, seeing all these people's experiences?
What happens for me in space? Well, the first time I think I ever truly experienced flow state, apart from when I was partying, was in a Kambo ceremony. It was, I love how when we really honor our deep inspirational desires, then they start to tie into our path in these really unexpected ways. So I had just broken up with a partner back when I was 28 or so. And I decided I wanted to explore all things sacred sexuality, tantra, and I went to Estonia and did a 11-day tantric massage training. And what happened was I brought that back and I was like, not sure when I'm going to use this, but there you go, did it. And then I went to study Kambo. Also, at that point, I had had one Kambo experience myself, which hadn't been that big a deal. I just like purged and I was like, I don't feel much different. But I had gone away and my left brain, so thank you, left brain, had read up all the science on PubMed, which is the medical publications website where all the papers are published. And I'd just been like, oh my God, look at all these biologically active peptides in Kambo that support this function, that function within the human body. And so, me as a doctor was like, this is like really important if we ever go through an epidemic, which my microbiology lecturers in my second year of med school were just like, we are long overdue one. And this was in like 2006. And I was like, okay. So if I had that up my sleeve, then if there was ever this drug resistant strain of bacteria or virus, I would have Kambo to treat it. And so I was like, I'm just going to learn it just in case. And yeah, and so what happened was I went and studied it, and then they were like, "Oh, by the way, you need to sing in ceremony." And it was like I'd always loved singing, but I'd sung in the school choir, but it was always a bit like, why am I singing this really annoying choral music about stuff I don't care about? And I was like, "Ooh." It's just silly. And so and I was like, what is my voice for? And everyone was like, you should sing in a band, you should sing, sing, sing. And I was like, it just didn't light me up. But then I got to Cambo and it was like, not only are you holding space where the shit's hitting the fan, sometimes literally, and it's like you've got like people vomiting left, right, center, some people fainting, and it was like being in A&E again, like being in the ER, but like way more interesting because not only was I using the energy skills I'd learned from Tantra, suddenly I would just like be intuitively guided where to touch people to help them purge. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do that. And then I was like singing and just like rattling in the space. And I was like, wow. And I was just like, literally like, it just flow state because there was so much going on that I was so present. And it was like this incredible experience for me in that way. But then also the people's results were just like, sleep would improve. They'd stop addictive eating, smoking, drug taking patterns. They would just suddenly make really big decisions in their life that they had been putting off for ages. A lot of people would come to me just before or after relationships to either, end them or gain the strength to end them, or just to clear the energy from that partner, and just so many things. Depression and pain management, heavy periods, just like a lot of the stories that came afterwards, which or like and infertility. So coming back to your intention as well, not that you're infertile, but fertility, to really increase fertility. And because Kambo has one of the biologically active peptides actually shears off abnormal blood vessels. It stops angiogenesis of abnormal vasculature. So if you're thinking in the womb and you've got either endometriosis or you just have kind of like maybe lazy blood circulation to the endometrium, which is where the egg's going to implant. Kambo basically goes in and is like whoosh, like engorges it with blood, and then whoosh, pulls it all back, engorges, pulls it back. And so you get this like tonic flushing effect where it just flushes out all of like and kills off any things that aren't supposed to be there. It's quite incredible, really. And so yeah, I just
Amazing.
got so excited about it. Yeah.
Well, I want to add to that because after our Cambo session in January, I think February, I went back for scans on my womb, my ovaries, and my endometriosis, and I'd shrunk my cysts by half.
Oh, it's got chills. I'm not surprised. You went through a right old experience, didn't you? It was like, oh, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. And my womb was shaking, my whole pelvis, and I kind of birthed all of the trauma and all of the pain of all of the women in my lineage. And to have, going back to your singing, to have that constant, just beautiful, like lilty tones filling the space, filling my living room, and we had that lovely fire on, and you were just floating around like a fairy whilst we were just going, whoa, it was incredible. And it was such an anchor for me, and such a delicate, feminine, matriarchal space that you created. I will forever be grateful for you for that.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. By half. Are you thinking to work with it again?
I think so, but what's going to be happening next is in the next 2 weeks, I'll be starting IVF. Yeah. So I don't know whether I've got sort of time to fit it in before that. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm focusing on now. And away from this podcast, I'd probably like to talk to you about a few things there, because I'm sure there's some ways that you can support me in that journey.
Oh, I'd love to talk more.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's get on to some soul-led business chat now. I like I said in the intro, I find what you're doing with business and helping other medicine women create businesses is so inspiring. Basically, this morning I was just whizzing through your Instagram account and kind of pulling out questions and a few things that stuck out to me. And I want this portion of setting the space. I want this portion of the podcast to be really helpful to those people that run businesses, that they can sort of take away and be like, right, okay, maybe I can apply that here. So that's just a little overarching umbrella. If it doesn't, if it doesn't flow like that, then that's fine. So the first question is, why do you think it's so important to diversify our income streams as healers, creatives, and medicine people?
Yeah, yeah, this is a post I wrote, I think yesterday or the day before. It's just so important because my own personal experience of really riding on just having one thing I'm creating. Like, I think it was at the start of my coaching career, and I was, sorry, excuse me. There we go. Just offering coaching at the time. I think I'd moved away from Kambo for a bit, and I was traveling, so I was just online, and that meant that like really the only thing that I could earn money through was the coaching, and that put so much pressure on it that I entered this like hustle zone, which retrospectively now I can see was because I just put so much pressure on this one thing. And it's kind of why I don't recommend people just like up and leave their jobs to go off into their dream world, their dream life. It's just sometimes that is a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And I would say that leaving medicine with 3 grand in my bank and not much of a plan and just one thing I wanted to earn money from was a disaster idea. So yeah, I think it led me to make some decisions which I think weren't actually in alignment. Because when one is financially insecure, root chakra stuff just shuts you down, and it's like you shut off all this like creative capacity from like the upper chakra system's ability to receive guidance and wisdom. It's like, oh, but I have to like earn this money to do this thing, and it's like incredibly stressful. And so I feel like this diversity of income streams is just so important because it allows us to truly listen into what's happening. It's like if one offer isn't taking off, or if people aren't coming for that, or like, do I need to adjust my pricing? Do I need to do it at a different time of day? Am I talking to the right people? Is my copy on point? There's so many little things that we need to think about as these business women that we are, that it's having multiple income streams allows us to really listen to what's unfolding without that gut wrenching root chakra fear, and then we make just much better decisions. And the last thing I'll say on it is that when we are stressed, the actual blood flow to the frontal cortex shuts down. Like you literally go into fight or flight and it just goes whoosh. So you literally cannot make proper decisions. And so yeah, I'm a real advocate, and it took me a while to understand how to set up my business in that way that I could have these different streams and for the opportunities to pass through. But yeah, it's offered me so much more spaciousness.
Yeah, I feel the same in my business as well, and it took me a long time to accept that I can put a couch in here and do a healing session with somebody, as well as do a business coaching session, as well as lead a cacao ceremony somewhere else. And this is something that I've been coaching my people on for years. But I got into that same thing as you. I was like, I'm the coach now. I'm going to be that business coach. And yeah, there's a little ego there on the shoulder that kind of quite liked that title in a way. And in the last couple of months, I've just changed my Instagram bio back to I offer medicine work, I offer branding work, I offer mysticism work, I offer business coaching, because it's okay to offer all of it. As a female identifying person, I am a lot of the time in my feminine, which is flowing. I have a very seasonal business. So now I'm going to be going into a phase of working on, like, really focusing on me, really focusing on my fertility on this next journey. So it actually doesn't feel right to take a load of people through a deep coaching journey with me so I don't want my energy to be out. And I'm like, hang on a minute. So I love doing web design, and I can chip away at creating some really nice websites for all of my conscious business people. And that's okay. But part of me is like, oh, you're going backwards. If you offer web design, that's what you used to do a few years ago. And then the voices come in, and I'm only sharing that because I just want to say that we all have them.
Yeah, I had that with Kambo because I took a bit of a break from Kambo for 2 or 3 years because one or two people actually died during Kambo, just to bring a bit of a downer to the conversation. But yeah, so I did take some time back to really reassess my relationship to it, understand why they died, what happened, how to mitigate that. And then just the call from the frog just came in so strong in the last few months. And I was just like, whoa. And like people reaching out everywhere, Kambo, Kambo, Kambo. And I think a lot of it is because of that which will not be named, the virus. And it just, people's immune systems are really needing that. And so I was
Mhm.
like, oh, but going back to like holding ceremonies, it takes so much time and I've got all these other things to do. And I'm like, wait, my role is to listen to what's happening. Again, coming back to that cultural context of the medicine woman, it's like, what's being asked for here? Or what within me is asking for, in your case, the going back to just tinkering away and not holding a vast container when you're holding your own container. And so it's like, what is actually moving and what do I need to pay attention to? And then suddenly when I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, yes, that would bring me so much joy to hold Kambo again. I'm like, why am I just fixating on like how much money I would earn from it or all those things? There's all these little, because when you step into business and you step up in business and you look at your money conditioning, sometimes it can become about money. And that is one thing I think in business as medicine women, we need to be very careful of watching. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. And so, yeah. And I was like, why the hell am I worrying about that? This is what is being asked for. And so, yeah, I completely hear you.
Yeah, this is why I'm so glad that you've kind of brought this up, because this is why I'm focusing on the web design, because it's not my medicine work. But I do know that that will bring in a certain amount of money whilst I'm going through this journey. And it also gives me the space to do my medicine work when it is called upon, when that sister asks me to hold a cacao ceremony, when that brother asks me to collaborate on a rewilding retreat, because I've got the energy and I've got the backing of that other kind of income stream through something that isn't so giving, and isn't so, like, it's obviously heart-centered web design, but it's not taking all of me. And I just want to echo that it's okay to have those types of jobs, like, similar to you were saying, like, don't just quit your job. It's like it's important to have a bit of a bridge, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Like money's real. We need it. we're
Yeah.
not in the days of like the tribes where like the medicine person got looked after by the community for being the medicine person. Like those days are gone. Like we need
Hmm.
to just accept that and get with the program. And I think a lot of what I love doing is working with people who are helping to change the system at a larger scale. But, you know, as we've seen with cryptocurrency and various other systems, it's like even the psychedelic industry, you know, there's a lot of licensing and legislation that still needs to come into place. There's a massive lag behind demand and what's actually happening on the ground and setting up these retreat centers. And even recently, a few have gone bankrupt, and it's the same with Bitcoin. It's like it was all rolling out. There were ATMs, and then now it's not there. And it's like we're not all using Bitcoin in the supermarket like people predicted. And so it's like, you know, we just need to like accept that we're in a 3D body and there's stuff around us that we need to understand. And actually, no one's coming to save us.
Yeah, and I think for me, a lot of grief comes up around that. I think my soul craves that tribe, that community that perhaps I was in a past life. And when I do come back from a healing space, from holding space, and I land in my home and I land back with my partner, I'm almost projecting on him or my friends this unattainable energy that they can't give me. They can't. I've been holding, and then I'm like, but then now look after me. I need to be nourished. And it's so important for us to know that we've got to nourish ourselves. We can't ask of that.
Mm. Well, we can ask both. We can get a bit from both.
Yeah.
A bit from you, a bit from me, and a bit from my therapist. Thank you, therapist.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that concept. Like this, just spreading it out, sprinkling it out. So this is
Yeah.
another one that I pulled off your Instagram. It was a great quote. I think you need to put this as a little square if you haven't already. Anxiety is often excess, unspent creativity. Okay, so what do you do when you're like not feeling it and comparisonitis is getting you paralyzed, or like, is this, yeah? How...
Specialitis. I love that. I've not heard that one before. I use the word specialitis as well. I'll talk about that another time later. Um, what do I do if I've got comparisonitis and I need to express
Mm,
creativity and I'm not, and it's making me anxious?
yeah.
I don't, well, that's actually not true. I recently, on the recommendation of one of my business mentors, Sophie Josephina, who's incredible on Instagram, follow her. She works with polarity and relationships and masculine feminine dynamics and takes them into business. And it's just like ugh, everything she says is amazing. Um, oh no, I forgot what I was going to say because I got so excited about her.
Comparisonitis.
No, there was Oh yeah, that was it. So she's like, if there are people who are so amazing on Instagram that they intimidate you, unfollow them. Like if every time you look at their account you think, I'm not as good as them, just unfollow them. She's like, just follow accounts that like make you laugh, like sometimes inane random meme accounts, things that just make you feel really like open. Like she follows a lot of kind of rewilding women, like women and babies with horses and like fields. And she's just like, when I look at that, I just feel so expanded. And so it's just, I guess, as a medicine woman and on healing journeys, we're just constantly being invited to not look outwards and actually draw upon our inwards and bring the inwards out. And it's like, what supports our nervous systems to feel expanded, and also not that we're not looking out so much that we actually, number one, become anxious through comparisonitis, or number two, just cannot actually connect to what's coming up to be expressed very just naturally and from our core, which is what, if we don't express, leads to anxiety. So I unfollowed a few accounts recently on her recommendation, and I don't know if that's made a difference, but it's one thing I've done. But generally now I just view Instagram and social media generally as like a playground. It's like it's fun, and I too, back in 2019 when I burnt out, when I was in that kind of hustle zone, um, I too remember saying to someone, I'm not an artist. And now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, how did I say that? Like, wow, I must have been in such a bad place, because we're all artists and we're all creative, without a doubt. And to me, Instagram is it's like, it's beautiful. Like, I want it to look really nice. I want it to feel like how I feel inside. It's like this kind of outward, like almost magazine editorial of how of like my magic and what I bring. And it's just a place, it's a sacred place actually to share like my deepest truth and inspire other women to, you know, step into their power. And it's like, what's bad about that, really? The only thing that I can think of is how addictive it is, and I do still wrestle with that. But really, at the end of the day, every time I start thinking about anxiety or feeling anxiety, or like I don't know what to post and all these things, it's just like that's like almost a sign that I need to move out of my left brain. I've gotten stuck in some kind of rational loop. I need to dance. I need to do some rapé. I love the medicine of rapé for getting us out of our left brains and just back in the body. That's a sacred Amazonian snuff that comes in a powder that you blow up your nose, tobacco, and yeah, and just remember why I'm even here. Like, what am I doing? It's like, oh yeah, I need to educate people about something useful that they can find value of in their lives. Or, oh, I just need to share this poem because it came through me. And like, what's life if we're not expressing our creative life force? Or yeah, that's it. And then I remember.
Well, I love the digital space that you've created. It's definitely really, really inspiring, and I love to see the you confidently sharing excuse me, your multi-dimensional gifts and personality through that. Again, a lot of people get stuck on this, like, oh, we've got to be one thing. And like you said, share that poem that's coming up, then share that nugget of wisdom, then do a little dance when you do get into the wrong side of your brain, and then you have your rapé and you shake it off.
Yeah, yeah. The one person I would say that everyone should follow on Instagram to get it, actually, she really helped me transform. There was a point at the end of winter this year where I was a little bit, I'd say mildly depressed and a little bit anxious due to the living situation I was in, and also winter, which I'm so humbled by. It was the longest winter and my first winter in the UK for years. And at the end of it, I was like 5 kilograms heavier and really miserable. No amount of rapé helps to heal winter. But yes, the woman that I was following is Simone Grace Seol.
Oh, I
Uh,
love her.
Oh my God, please just put that in the notes below, because just listening to that woman's podcast, which has just been rebranded to I Am Your Korean Mom, which I love,
Love it.
just listening to her podcast shifted me out of any kind of anxieties I was feeling following that kind of slightly inward winter experience. And I highly recommend. There's just so much free and inspirational value that actually makes you just go and post. And 100% she has something called the garbage challenge. And it's just like, post whatever's coming up, just post it, post it, post it, post it. Even if you think it's literal garbage, it's just like, this helps people. I think we're moving from this very patriarchal time of, I should be a professional doctor, and yeah, look at me in my white coat. And it's like, no, we're moving into this time of authenticity. People are yearning for something real. Like, look at our leaders, you know, it's just like so uninspirational. Like, it's just like, where's the truth? Who's bringing it? And like, how raw are they? How real are they being? And it's just so refreshing when people are just like, you know what? I'm a medicine woman and I still like to go to a good old party, or I'm a medicine woman and I also care about fashion, for example. I don't, but a lot of people do. And it's something that people could have a lot of judgment on. And it's like, you know what? That is someone's creative expression. And it's up to them how they express it. And actually what shamanism is at the end of the day is it's this bridging of worlds. And I like to see it kind of as Venn diagrams. And what I think is so important for everyone to be doing right now is connecting to their unique passions and seeing where the crossovers are, because actually that's what's going to help bring, in this age of increased isolation, paradoxically, that we're in due to technology, due to post-COVID and so much stuff online now. I think that's what's going to bring people together, is actually realizing, oh, like, you know, I can like going to a kink party and be like, an intellectual property patent person, a lawyer, or I can, you know, and it's like, you know, there's no need for this taboo anymore. There's a need for us all to step into our truth and to create more authentic systems around us.
Absolutely. There's so many things that you said in that I'm like, I've got like 5 fingers crossed here to like remind me underneath the table. I'm like, "Ah, that one, that one. Oh no, 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 that one." I'm gonna go with this one, which is just at the end you were talking about like the not being able to cross the bridges and connect the bridges. And for me, this decision of mine to say yes to having IVF has been so massive, and I have put myself through absolute hell in my head thinking, this isn't very spiritual. This isn't very like medicine like. I'm looking outside of myself, I'm I'm a woman. I should have like that connection to my fertility but I do have to nature and all of these things, and I'm over the biggest hump of that. And I also met up with a sister yesterday who's been on her own like big journey, and she just said to me as I was talking about it, she said, "What I'm hearing is that you feel a lot of shame around making this decision." And I just burst out crying because I was like, yeah, you're so right. And that just in that moment gave me so much permission. I can be the medicine woman and I can seek the help of the NHS, because you get a free round of this on the NHS before you're 40, which not many people know about.
Yeah. Yeah, shame is insidious, and I think it really helps to remember, and maybe this comes back to your past life moment that you shared earlier, that like we are medicine women, we are women of, like, there's the yearning inside us to go back to tribe and to be in this natural environment, and we're not in a natural environment anymore in the modern day. We are, it's our form of natural, but we're just surrounded by toxic chemicals. We're surrounded by things which, you know what, maybe if you were around like 200 years ago in your exact physical body now, you would easily conceive, but surprise surprise, you've been surrounded by horrendous cleaning products, probably been given like the combined oral contraceptive in your 20s, you've messed with all your hormones a million times over, and surprise surprise, like it's hard to conceive. And it's like, I think a lot of shame can be released through understanding that like we are in our environment too. We're not independent of it, and it's not all on our shoulders, and we're dealing with a lot of the repercussions of the industrial revolution.
Absolutely. And that leads me on to the soil and the infertility of the soil. We're void of nutrients in our soil. Their water has been tampered with. And again, no wonder why women are showing up with these issues now. Like my mother is sick.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this yesterday evening. Not this, but it's there's something called the Schumann resonance. Have you heard of it?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so the Schumann resonance actually is like the vibrational frequency that Mother Earth gives off, and it can be monitored and recorded. And up until about, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it was very steadily at a certain waveform that was actually mirror identical to the exact frequency of the waveforms in our human brains. And it was literally like, I think it was like equivalent to maybe gamma or delta, which is like the dream state, in which is why I believe when shamans go into trance, they can connect to the wisdom of the earth through, because they're going to the same frequency, so they can then talk to that frequency. But about 5 or 6 years ago, the Schumann resonance just went started going completely berserk. And I believe it's Mother Earth talking to us and actually being like, guys, there's about to be a really big change. Something's happening. You need to pay attention. And yeah, it is. It's the soil. It's everything, and it is deeply, deeply sad. And I'm not surprised that people are finding it difficult to conceive.
I just got a ring in my ear as you talking, as you said, Mother Earth's trying to talk to you. It went ping.
There she is.
Okay, I'm
Hello, hello, Mother
listening.
Earth. Hello.
Earth to earth. I'm tuning in. I can hear you. So a couple more questions before we wrap up. If you could give someone 3 tips on how to be a confident space holder, what would they be?
It's not about you. you're not the one doing it, and have fun.
Oh, oh, I love that. I love that so much. It's totally not about you. Yeah.
The only reason we get confused when we're holding space is just what happens between our ears. It's like, oh, I should be doing this, you should be doing it right. And again, we're just draining all the blood from our prefrontal cortex. And then we're actually just not going to be able to make a good decision in the space. So firstly, it's like, how can I support this being in front of me? And just listening, watching, seeing what's happening. What do I see happening on their face? How's their breathing? You know, it's just like how attentive can I be outwards, not inwards? Because inwards, it's all very confusing in there sometimes. Um, and then, well, there's a caveat there. Obviously, there's like our somatic intelligence and our womb intelligence and our body intelligence, which it's just not being inwards up here, up there, up in our left brain. But yeah, so how can I support them? Because it's not about me. It's not about like everyone's coming to my ceremony and I want them to leave thinking it was the best or like that Alex is the greatest. And it's like, no, no. And then what was the second thing I said? It's not you doing it. So, and this is a shamanic concept, which is becoming the hollow bone, which is like I'm trying to empty myself of all my thinking, which is why meditation is probably the most important practice one can do as a space holder, is to create space inside ourselves so that we can receive the guidance of something greater than ourselves to come through the people we're serving. And I think so much pressure and stress and anxiety gets caused by thinking it's like the only thing that I can bring to this space is what I already know. And that is just leaving no space for a greater intelligence. And you can call that nature, you can call it source, you can call it God, to move through you and do something inspired in the space. And I think this is a very Western mindset issue, which is that we take the credit for what we do well and we take the credit or the repercussions for what we do badly. Whereas in certain tribes, it's known that like when someone does something incredible, it was God that did it through them. And they're like, wow, look at how spirit moved through you. Wasn't that amazing? And you'd be like, hell yeah, that was incredible. But it was never like, oh, well done you. It's like, no, we step back and it's not actually us doing it. And that to me creates so much spaciousness and less pressure. And so just whenever you're like, I need to know what to do now, it's like, okay, what can I just open to? And just waiting as well, giving yourself time to listen. Like I obviously talk at the speed of light. I get very excited, like, blah, 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 blah. But when I stop in the space and I'm listening, if I notice that desire to just talk into it, like for the sake of it, or just to fill that space, it's like, wait, how can I pull my energy back? And wait until, and I'll tell one story about this. So there was one man I was doing a soul retrieval for in a shamanic healing session. I was drumming and I was drumming and I was like there and I was going on my journey and I was like, nothing for like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh God, this is really bad. There's nothing coming. And I was like, no, I'm not going to fill it with like something. I was like, I have to wait to see what it is. And so I kept going and it just seemed like forever and I was kind of just a bit embarrassed. And then finally something came through and it was really clear. And I was like, okay. And I took it back to him and he said, 17 years ago, someone told me the exact same vision you just shared. And I was like, oh my God, I get chills. And it
Yeah, I've
was
got
just,
chills.
it was waiting. It was waiting for the real impulse to come through. And you can only do that if you're stepping back and listening and knowing it's not just you. So that's number two. Number three, have fun. Yeah, it's just like, you know, if you're not having fun doing a job, then why are you doing it? Number one. Number two, like, no one likes this like serious perfectionist, like dour face, like expert person in front of them. I mean, maybe you do when you've got a medical issue and you're like, tell me what's happening, doctor. And they're like, this is happening. But that's about the only time in my life when I want someone really serious to be there and just be like, you know, it's like, yeah, just the rest of the time, it's like, are you, you know, because you need to relax to heal. If you're not relaxed, you just, your system's not going to let go. And it doesn't mean be like a comedian, obviously. We need to know when to rein it in, but there should be a lightness with the work. And because if not, you're not in the flow with the energies around you. Because animals aren't wallowing around depressed all the time. They're just like chewing the grass and breathing, and the trees are just growing, and they're just there reaching up to the sunlight. And it's like, that's what the earth is here to remind us of, as life carries on and it flows and it moves, and there's ups and there's downs, but it's just moving and it's light, and like the stream is trickling and gurgling and singing, and we're all just like these little earth beings that get to come to joy in our lives and make the most of the gift of life. So yeah, that's what.
Beautiful. Thank you. I feel like that you were saying something about sharing. Often we don't need to put words into the space, and it is all about listening. I'll just share something short about me. And when I'm holding ceremonial space with cacao, I before I even start speaking, I'll go quiet for like 2 minutes or something. And oh, that's hard sometimes for me. And then it's hard for the people in the space because they're looking at me, and I'm kind of going deeper into it, waiting for those first words to come. And like you with the drumming, sometimes they're not coming, and then it's like it comes out. So yeah, just echoing that and giving yourself time at the beginning of opening that space to drop in and allow
Mm,
the space.
and it's uncomfortable if it's about you. If it's like, oh gosh, what is everyone thinking? And it's like, okay, I'm witnessing that discomfort, and I'm still listening. It's like,
Hmm.
it's a practice, and that's again my meditation. It's like, oh, I'm experiencing discomfort. Okay, well, I guess I'm here for the next 18 minutes, so I'm just gonna observe it. And it's like, yeah, really helpful.
Amazing. So I know that you've got channels and things that you're putting out on your channels. You've got retreats, you've got courses, you've got one-to-ones. So where can we find those? Where can we get in touch with you basically?
I do everything through Instagram, so find me there and send me a DM if you're curious about
What
anything.
is your handle?
Alchemy underscore with underscore Alex. Alchemy with Alex. And if you don't do the gram, you can send me an email I'm currently in a massive rebrand, which I was meant to do in February, March, but retrospectively, I'm really glad I didn't, because I wasn't in the right headspace. But yeah, so that my website will be up soon. But until then, it's info@alchemywithalex.com. Yeah.
And is there anything that you'd like to share in terms of what you've got coming up that might be of interest to our people?
Well, I have a retreat coming up in 1 week, and we have 3 spaces left for it. It's quite a small one. There's 12 people, but we have 9. One person just had to cancel due to illness. So we still have 3 spaces, but by the time this podcast comes out, I imagine it will have passed. So, but we're looking to have more ceremonies and retreats in the future in the UK and Somerset, and I'm hoping to bring a Mazatec elder to England at the end of the summer to run some ceremonies as well. So, sharing Mazatec wisdom and knowledge from South Mexico, and yeah, let's and then coaching. I'm always available and open. I'm open now for taking on the next few clients for the next 3 to 4 months, after which I'm like you, I'm a seasonal person. It's like then I go off and I gallivant and I do my pilgrimages and my trainings and find some sunshine, and then I'll come back and think about work again in January, February.
Amazing. So follow Alex on Instagram, and then that'll be the main connecting place there. And you can get all of her medicine. Right. Final last question that I ask everybody on this podcast. What does New Earth business mean to you?
Mm. Bringing joy to business, getting friendly with business, getting to know the spirit of your business as a separate entity to you, something that's moving through you, something that's calling you into your greatest vision of yourself. So accept the challenge, and together we create the new earth. We create a new way of being, a new way of relating, a new way of everything. We're in a really exciting time, exciting and scary. But if you can focus all of any of the fear you have right now on strengthening yourself, gaining new skills, learning more communication capabilities, and stepping up and giving your gifts, then that is what the world needs right now. This is an all hands on deck moment, and so New Earth Business is that. It's gearing your business towards this new earth that we are creating, but we have to create it. We can't just sit back and watch.
Yeah, we have to create it together.
Mm.
Challenge accepted, Alex.
Yes.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I've got the eye on the time, and we are like on point. So I know you've got a few things on today, so I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm sure we'll have a part 2 at some point. So thank you again.
Well, thanks. Due to my ability to talk very fast, we covered a lot of ground, so I think that's good in quite a short space of time. So thank you so much, Emma. I really enjoyed being here.
Well done. Bye.